Hola, ¿cómo están? ¿Todo bien? Psych is not in Spanish. Hello, welcome to Oye Cinema Club. Today we are going to be reviewing Little Women Goes to London. No, I am completely joking. It is Jimi Hendrix all by my side, and I'm here. All by my side here is my lovely host right here. We got El Dondino, fresh from Paraguay. We got Marina, fresh from a lot of places, and he already does house. And Jason Echoes,
Hola amigos.
directly from a Spanish class. And we are going to be reviewing, like I said, Jimi Hendrix all by my side. The reason we picked this movie is because I wanted to, put a little flavor into our picks. Because I just felt like Little Women, we saw that almost back to back. It was too much for me. So I needed a little bit of flavor. I wanted a biopic. So I put three different biopics, and we all collectively, well, not collectively, unanimously, however you say that word, uh, picked this movie. And this is one movie that I feel collectively none of us have watched. Some of us have probably heard of it. Some of us have probably never heard of this. Some of us didn't know Andre 3000 was an actor, but we all saw this experience. And I want to get your first impressions. And I want to start with the one person that I feel connected the most with this movie, and that is Marina.
You feel that?
Alrighty. I don't know what kind of vibes I'm giving off. So first impressions about this movie. I always love a good artist biopic. I always love like seeing the stories behind creatives, like how the right things happened to get them to where they needed to be, for better or for worse. Um, this really started off well. Um, Yeah, I honestly don't really know much about Jimi Hendrix, so I had a very blank slate to learn about him. So it's just pretty cool, like just seeing like what how doors opened for him, how drugs came to him. Like it was just people have their reputations, and it's just always very interesting to see. I learned a lot about how he was with women, why he was like that with women. Um, yeah, just like how he just yeah, I don't know. I didn't even know he went to London. I don't know. I was very out of the loop. So my first impression on this was like just learning a lot about an icon. So I really, really enjoyed um, the entire film.
Thank you so
Dope.
much. Thank you so much, Marina. Let's go with the person that just said dope. Jason.
Speaking of dope, Jimi Hendrix film. I have heard of this film before. I've never seen it. First time watching it. I believe the first time I heard about it was maybe during like an Ebert and Roper review one night, and they were not very kind to this movie, if I remember correctly. But don't quote me on that. But I really enjoyed this thing, man. I don't know a ton about Jimi Hendrix. I mean, I know his music. Um, I know very little about his life. I don't think I knew that he went to England. I mean, I heard stories about him visiting England to do like the Eric Clapton thing, where they had him challenge Eric Clapton, but I didn't really know too much about his story or his history and all that kind of stuff. I thought this was pretty interesting. I thought this was a pretty good film. It feels like an acting class in the best way, in a really good way. I feel like all the acting in this thing is pretty stellar and right on. And I think they put a really good cast around Andre. And I thought Andre did a pretty good job as Jimi Hendrix. There were a few moments in it where he actually looked like Jimi Hendrix. Just like his posture and like even like his face, kind of like the way it was sort of like structure, like the bone structure, sort of looked like Jimmy. And I got to be honest, I wasn't expecting a very good performance from Andre, and thought he did a really good job. Yeah, I thought everybody did a really good job. Yeah, there's a lot to like about this movie, but there is an element of it that I feel like the movie feels a little bit like it's unfinished. I don't know if it was like the transitions, which I thought were interesting, but it felt like maybe they were missing a few pieces, or like they didn't have money to finish a couple scenes, or like they threw some stuff away. It just felt a little bit unfinished. Um, it didn't feel that bad watching it at home, but I feel like if I would have saw it in theaters, I might have been a bit disappointed. Only because, like, theatrical biopics are usually really big, like Ray and the Johnny Cash thing, and on and on and on. This didn't feel like a big money spent. It feels like little intimate scenes with actors acting. But I liked it.
Thank you so much, Jason. Let's go with myself. So, what I thought about this, now I'm kidding. Let's go with Dino.
Well, thank you. If you guys hear howling and all that, it's not dogs, it's coyotes. The animals, not the people. They're on the other side. But so let me just state this first and foremost. I don't know if the copy that I saw, the audio mixing was off. Cause I don't know if you guys had the issue, if we all watched the same one or not. But
I
the
did.
dialogue parts of it would get really soft, and at times almost like could not hear it at all. And like you could hear music and you could hear background parts of the scene, but not the dialogue. So that kind of took me out a lot of the movie. I really like Andre. I mean, I really like him as a artist and everything, but just couldn't buy it. It's like I was all the way back when I first came. I mean, speaker box below, and like he's like when I think about moving to the U.S., I think about Andre's 3000 and Big Boy because the album just came out. My friends in the dorms had it, and like that was it, man. That was like night in, night out. And so I love Andre, and we went to go see Idlewild when it came out. I was so looking forward to it because it has like all these great actors, like you said, surrounded around him, guys that were in Hoodlum and all these other like great movies. But I just couldn't buy it. I felt, and again, I don't know if it was partly the audio and partly like Jimi Hendrix being kind of a little outcast and soft spoken, and Andre himself is kind of aloof, if what I understand of him. So it was really hard for me to kind of follow. And I totally agree with Jason. Like it feels like stuff is missing, and I feel in part because they have like some footage, like documentary footage in between. I don't know if they were trying to do like that weird Bob Dylan movie that black and white, or other movies where it was that kind of stuff. I just yeah, and then it became one of those like, how did you learn how to do this and how did you learn that? And there was a lot of women, a lot of white women teaching him. I wrote down La La Land because there
Mm.
was like white women teaching Jimi Hendrix how to be Jimmy, and how to follow his heart and play from for who he is. Which I'm like, I remember seeing this Jimi Hendrix documentary when I was still in Paraguay, and it was great because the FBI was involved, and it was like all this mystery behind like him dying and all that jazz. So yeah, I there were a lot of things that I really liked, but there were so many moments where I wished, why didn't you show us more of that? Why didn't you go down? Whether it's with the Beatles or it's other musicians and stuff like that, it just it felt like white women catfighting. It just yeah like his whole thing of looking in the mirror when doing drugs. I think it was LSD, and then he said I look like Marilyn Monroe in the mirror, and I was like, oh, there's something there. Like that we could follow that, but kind of didn't. So it just I wanted to see more about him and not the people around him trying to saddle him and do all that, because I feel those movies has been made. Those are all musicians, especially minorities, especially musicians that are minorities. Every movie is just yeah. I mean, even the Wonders, right? Someone picks them up and someone gets them. Anyway, go on. I love Andre. I didn't love this flick.
Cool.
Appreciate you, Dino. Always with your hating ass perspective. Let's go with me. Oh my, he stays on brand. He always stays on brand. If you see consistency.
Yep, got a
So
little consistency.
I love also the way that he set up. Like, yo, I love Andre. I love Speaker Box. You know, that's when you knew he was gonna really trash him. But I personally enjoy this movie. This is a movie, honestly, that I wanted to watch for a long time, and I knew that one of the struggles of this movie was that, and I knew this from the time this movie was getting released, and that was like back in 2013, was that they couldn't get cleared, essentially, like a lot of the music, especially the top popular one. And when I checked who it was his Jimi Hendrix's wife that didn't clear it. And I also, because I one scene that shocked me watching this, because just like Dino, also in the copy I was watching in the beginning, like there were some audio mixing issues. I don't know if that was part of the movie or if it was that I saw, but yeah, it was like kind of like the dialogue was a little hard to follow at certain moments, but then everything got cleared up and everything was fine. Um, but essentially there were moments in this movie that really pulled me in. For example, I love how the progression was, that he was just like a dude in a band, and then slowly but surely he was like finding his way, and you could see it with the clothes he was wearing and the way he was acting and behaving. I really enjoyed that. But one scene that really shocked me, and I'm sure we're definitely going to talk about that scene a little bit more in depth a little later, was when he hit his girlfriend at the time with like the telephone. And I immediately, like after the movie, I had to do research to see if this was like factual.
Hmm.
And according to like what I saw online, she said that that was a complete exaggeration, that that specific thing didn't happen. They essentially like added things to the movie to make it more like dramatic or this and that. But she did not deny that he wasn't abusive. So yeah, we can definitely discuss a little bit more of that later. But yeah, and I definitely see the same thing, that this was unfinished product. Like there were things that I would have tweaked. Even in the beginning, I felt like the editing maybe it was meant to be that way, a little confusing or whatever. But like I just felt some of the editing was kind of off in the beginning parts, and then later in the movie, then it really felt like a movie to me. Uh, but yeah, those were my first impressions. Before I carry on onto the things that I want to personally discuss, I do want to open it to anybody here. Is there something in particular that like you really want to talk about?
Yeah, just quickly, I want to note that Jimi Hendrix family, the family estate, they didn't want this movie to really get made, and they weren't keen on Andre playing Jimmy. And they didn't release the music partly for that. They weren't interested in. I don't know if they weren't interested in making a biopic at all, or they just didn't want Andre to do it. So they didn't release any of the music.
Mm.
I mean, there's all this whitewashing with these biopics, especially musicians. That was kind of the Freddie Mercury one, but I mean, like they were wanting to go a completely different way of like, but the living band members and stuff like that from Queen, they're all kind of like they were all kind of drug addicts and just like womanizers and all that. But now when they're like in their 50s and all that, they don't want a movie even straight out of Compton, right? There's things that have been taken, that weren't included. Usually, uh, uh, physical abuse, especially towards women, or So I can see why the estate might not wanted that. I was surprised they included that, right? That they actually showed that, like that, and then like clearly at some point he tried to kill himself. There were a lot of things that I would have kind of wanted a little bit more. But yeah, interesting. The family. Yeah, I don't know. It would be interesting to know why the family either didn't just want Andre or didn't want the movie made. Is it because they felt it shined a bad light? And my question, Steve, since you researched, is his wife the person that got hit with the phone, did she end up being his wife, or it is an actual person that just said that it was she? He didn't hit her with a phone.
I believe is Jane Hendrix. I believe that's what I remember.
Oh, okay. Okay. Anyway, but yeah, a lot of biopics. That's the issue, right? Like, especially people that were into drugs and
Yeah, I mean, it
some
makes
are
sense. Why would you want your
yeah,
relative like to be a bad light or a negative light? It might be even hurtful to have to watch that.
yeah. And at the same time, it's kind of like at that point, everybody wants a little bit of fame. So it's also at a certain point, it's like what actually, you know, how many people are coming out of the woodworks. We are talking a little bit right earlier, like, oh, if you're famous, all of a sudden all these people want to get in, want to take a picture now, a selfie or whatever, get into that zone. So that can very well be with, back in the day groupies, but now today it's been elevated completely because it's just like, groupies were one thing where you were just groupies to the people around that world, but now a groupie or whatever is out there on Instagram, is out there wherever, and can easily get the clout that way. So that's another reason why probably families don't want biopics out of, keep it to where they can control the story, I guess.
Okay,
Now, Steve,
so
you mentioned you did a little research on it because you wanted to know what was true and what may not have been true in this thing. And I'm kind of curious, like, who knew unless there's like a book written or something, like who knew anything? Because this only takes place for like a couple years during the production of his first album. So, and it happens in another country away from like everyone that kind of knew him before. So, like, where do we get any of this story from?
so basically, like this was loosely based of like a book. I don't remember the name of the book right now.
Okay.
Uh, and essentially, I guess with a bit of recompilation with certain people, and then making stuff up, making like Hollywood dramatic stuff on top. Uh, because even so, I just to confirm to Dino, no, that girl did not become his wife, but she did come out to the media to dispel that, to be like, yo, that did not happen. That's not real. Like, he wasn't that abusive. That abusive.
Oh man.
And then the one that blocked basically the whole music is his wife, Jane Hendrix. Um,
Is she the lady at the beginning of the movie that he actually lives with? Was that his wife to begin with?
No,
The
that was
the
Linda. That was Linda Keith. She was like she used to like date Keith Richards or something. Her dad is
No, no, no,
Alan
no, no, no,
Keith.
no, 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 no. The black girl that he was living with, even that he asked money from.
I thought that was like his sister or something. Was that like a girlfriend?
I
It
thought
was
it
no,
de-
was girlfriend or
that was
wife.
definitely a girlfriend, bro.
I definitely think it was a love interest because he was like, we all got our situations, and he wouldn't let her come to the show. He wouldn't let the girl come to the house. Yeah.
Okay.
It'd be like, there's nothing there.
I might have been like doing something else when the movie first started,
Yeah,
so I might have missed the little bits
But
and
it
pieces.
also
I
could
hope
be,
it wasn't the sister because I was getting completely different vibes.
but even let's say it was, right? It could have been like this whole, because I guess I could see this perspective. Like if you missed a couple of the romantic notes, like maybe the race thing, like you didn't want his, because it was like the white vibes. He was going to go perform at those bars, and it was just like, oh, you don't want to go down there, like you don't want to hear it because she already said she didn't like the white people music. Like stop
Right.
buying those people records. I could see how if you miss one small part, you could think that's somebody else because they weren't very romantic, but I could tell like they didn't kiss or touch, but
Yeah, I
I
can see that.
depended on her.
I,
So
Go ahead.
just because Marina brought that up and it made me think of something. again, of what's missing with the movie, there were all these tiny touches, right? You said of not going to, I guess, where the blues or the black part of the music world was, and then in England when he's with the black drug dealer, only black guy in England is dealing dope, uh, and and they're kind of like, you don't go to this place or that place, or you, and he's like, well, I don't see, that, like, I do music for everyone, which is a great artist thing. But it felt there were a few moments in the movie kind of where they're tiptoeing around this race issue in the 60s about to blow type of thing, right? A pressure cooker. But they never also even explore that. So it was just weird. They were like just barely touching things, and I guess it makes sense if the state didn't really give them a lot to work with. It was like, what are we following? What am I? Who am I supposed to kind of root for, or who am I rooting against? Because it felt like everyone, other than the British guy that was his manager, which is weird because it's like the first time in a music biopic where the producer that finds the artist actually seems to be a good guy and actually is wanting the best for his artist. I mean, he also wants to get paid, but he didn't seem like he was cutting all these deals underneath. So I was just like, are we gonna like? I don't. That's where like I don't remember from the documentary and stuff like that I saw during my Jimi Hendrix phase back in Paraguay. But I was like, was it? Like, I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's just I just felt like there were so many great parts that this could have explored, and the whole race issue is one of them because it was the '60s, and it felt like it was going to finally go there, maybe into the third act, right, when the cops stop him and make him take the coat, and then he has a conversation with the black guys, guy and girl. That I don't know. I'm just frustrated. I'm gonna mute myself because I made a bet earlier, and I'm frustrated with this movie because I like everything, everyone who's in it, and all that.
I feel like
I,
I'm on drugs or something because I feel like I was like so in touch with what this movie was trying to do. Like I was so down for like this groovy, like it was just like I don't know. I feel like the what it's lacking is seriousness, and I don't think they want it to be serious. Like I just think it wanted us to feel like him. Like I felt like I ate those little cubes of who knows what, and I just like watched him glide through his career. I don't know. Like I thought it
That's an
was
interesting perspective. Like Jimmy, he always felt very loose and playful, and that's what sort of like that's part of his like mystique as like an artist. And maybe that is the vibe that the director is trying to give us. Like very much, this is how Jimmy sort of did his thing. I mean, it's a pretty decent take.
Let me tell you this. I thought, but this was my expectation of the movie. I went with this blind. I didn't see a trailer. I just went and saw it. I thought this movie was going to be Andre 3000 touching a guitar for 2 hours. That's what I thought it was. This movie was going to be like legit.
Like a lot of footage of him playing music.
Yeah, and the fact like at the beginning, I saw Andre. That's what I saw.
Yep.
But as the movie progressed, like maybe 35 minutes in, I started to see Jimmy.
Same.
And it was getting deeper and deeper, and there with the wardrobe and like all that stuff. And I really, really got into that. And I really, really enjoyed, especially when he was having like maybe the first, I guess, dialogue and stuff because of the audio issues or whatever, I wasn't really into. But then later, when he started getting like very metaphysical and talking about when the love over power overcomes and like all this stuff, I was like, yeah, I fuck with stuff like that. Like, I want to see more of that.
I need more. I need more. That was like, geez, that was nothing. That wasn't even scratching the surface.
watch
Give
it
me more
again.
of that.
Watch it again on ecstasy. You'll see it.
Right.
I mean, I could watch anything on ecstasy and be like, oh man, Andre 3000 killed that Jimi Hendrix movie. It's like, Dino, you've been staring at a pot of plants
He was just
for the
all about
past 3 hours.
he was just all about peace and love. He was ahead of his time on the hippiness. Like,
Hey, let's explore more of that, not just a few throwaway lines. Anyway, I'm muting myself. You
So
I'm just being the devil's advocate because I don't know. Like usually I'm like with you. I need more. I'm very surprised that I wasn't craving more, but I don't know. I was just very satisfied with the flow. But it could be because I absolutely knew nothing about him. I might have been more critical if I knew more about
sure.
him. But as someone who knows that he touched music and he's a legend to music, and that's all I knew, I liked it. Like, but
Honestly, even the fact that we got to explore, like, sort of, kind of, a little bit of his relationship with his father, I thought that was a treat too.
Yeah, I agree. That was
there
pretty
was
interesting, and I like the way they did it with the audio and the voice. Because
I was like,
it
what?
felt it felt
No.
it felt very.
Like,
It just felt they felt very distant,
yeah.
and obviously there's the space different distance. But I like the audio sound of his dad barely being heard through like this 1960s telephone. I was like, yeah, this tells a lot about. I mean, exploring who someone's parents is or are on film tells you a lot about informs who they are or who they becoming or who they became. Like I thought that was pretty cool, actually.
We all got an
I
uncle
get just
like that.
Yeah,
so little, just so it's
it
like
wasn't very
throwaway
much. You're
lines.
right, but it was there.
Although it doesn't fall into the whole I don't know, archetype or stereotype of the music biopics where the parents are like, "You'll never get a real job. You'll never make it in your music or you artist. Papa,
But,
Mama, I'll make something out of myself."
but most great artists do tell that story because, like, as a parent, who knows how to manage greatness?
Yeah. It's crazy that that's an underlying factor that there's such a lack of support on people who take a leap of faith.
Yeah.
Just, we're getting better through time with communicating that. But I get like,
Oh my
yeah, like,
God.
you worked so hard to, keep your kid healthy and they want to go chance it. What if they don't make it? It's like, dang it.
So so I just had this revelation. So all these biopics that we're seeing that are from like musicians, actors, painters, all this from like the 60s and now and before, right? And they're troubled and they're this and the family doesn't support it. That's what we're seeing. Artists, they're whatever. So I feel like 30 years from now, they're going to be biopics out of Logan, Paul, those guys, and streamers and
Oh my
Twitch
God!
people and Pew
Please
Pew,
no.
and like those are going to be the biopics in the future about
They
the
might be
people
good.
who
Who knows?
They're
Mr. Beast might have an incredible story.
gonna have
it's
positive
going to be like the
experience.
door rolls open and it's like, Mom, I'm trying to stream up everything. And it's going to be the same thing. And it's because I'm going to mute myself. I'm getting distracted. This is
Okay,
just a
before
whole
before
other
we
thing.
move on, though, there is one thing that we should touch really quickly, and it's something that Dino mentioned in his first impression.
I
The
did.
idea that this movie essentially is about all the white women that made Jimmy great. And I don't know enough about the story, but I don't know if that's true.
Me
That's
either.
a great. That's a great title. I'm right. I don't know what is it. I don't know enough about
I don't
what did
know that much about the story, but I don't know if that's true.
Yeah, that's definitely a part where, like, there's some truth to it, but there's also an exaggeration.
Yeah.
Because how they portray it is like he's just like, whatever, I'm just playing. She's like, no, but you're so talented. I'm gonna present you to all the best people in the music industry.
And the only
I
reason
mean,
why
there almost always is universally a woman that kind of pulls it out of the lead character, the subject. There's almost always a woman that kind of like tweaks it or finds the genius or boosts his confidence or something. So that's not hard to believe. And Jimmy loving white women isn't that hard to believe either. But
Richard Pryor, like yeah, a lot of black artists.
it's just weird that it kind of like Jimmy is almost not even the lead. Every white woman
No,
next to him is either like on par or the lead of his scene, especially the first girl, Linda. Like the movie is about her in the first act for sure.
But at least she was. I even at the time, it seemed like she was the girlfriend of Keith, right? Keith's girlfriend.
Hmm.
So like that, at least I kind of get like, oh, she's also in the music world,
Yeah,
and
she
and
definitely
and
knows
has
the music world.
yeah, and was a girlfriend or groupie of a famous musician, and then whether she
But she
got
got
left,
connections.
yeah, and whether she got pushed aside by Keith or just she, fell in love or with Jimmy, not sure. But at least that part, I'm like, okay, I get that she's got some connections. But yeah, a lot of white women.
Yeah, whether it was the love interest or a person, it was still the 60s. So it probably had to be a white person connecting them in general because there wasn't a lot of black people at the top yet. Like, so,
Yeah,
I mean, whether or not they switched it up and made it to where, oh, it was the love interest that like sought him out, that may be exaggerated. But I mean, who really was making connections for like white people had to say yes to you for a while to make it anywhere in music. So,
Sure.
Let's end the debate of something that people have been arguing about in this movie, and that is what was the drug that Jimi Hendrix took?
I
on
feel like it
the
was
on the
in the
on the
beginning
sugar cube,
Yeah.
LSD.
LSD. Not. I don't know from from trying it, but I mean that's gotta be LSD drops on sugar
No, that's
cube.
the lore of Jimmy, isn't it? The fact, like, that's
Yeah,
why, like, it's all the psychedelic and it's the
yeah.
'60s. I mean, I don't know. I just assumed that it was LSD.
let me tell you how
I
dare
mean,
I am. Let me tell you how dare I am. I was like, oh, did cocaine used to come in cubes in the 60s? They didn't know how to.
and that's why they started using,
I was
and
like, they're gonna
until there
take you
were
out.
credit cards were invented, and so they could, create lines with the coke. You just had to snort those cubes.
I cannot imagine someone taking a test tube and dropping it onto something and saying, "Here, put that in your mouth." Yeah, right.
I mean, can you imagine someone bringing out a crack pipe and or any of the drug?
At least I know what that is. At least I know, like,
I
oh,
don't.
that's crack. You know what I mean? Like,
Is that the Fillmore
Someone's
in
burning a
San
spoon.
Francisco? I think it's called the Fillmore, the music venue. Like it's still there, but and they still have it. There's like this in the entrance. There was just a bucket with piles of apples, and all the apples used to be, I guess, injected with LSD or some other drugs. And so, like, the bucket is still there, like full of apples, but clearly no drugs. And like I went with someone and they picked the apple and were eating the apple. I was like, why are you eating an apple that's been sitting there? Which maybe the venue is not putting LSD in it anymore, but you don't know if someone just placed one just to fuck with someone.
yeah,
So yeah,
real shit.
but yeah, that's LSD without a doubt.
What do you think it is, Steve?
Me? I think like everybody here, it's definitely opioids, you know?
LSD is not opioid. What's that?
Mm.
No, I think it's acid. I think it has acid too. I just found it weird that it was on a cube.
Opioids are like you get that from the hospital, right? And then people started
Yeah,
using.
like pharmaceuticals.
That's what she, I think, was taking those pills that the other girl gave her, right?
Yeah. Yeah, well, he was getting laid.
Yeah. Here, girl, let me help you after I kind of pushed him to beat you, because that's what that felt like. That it was, yeah, it was. Okay, I'm muting myself.
What did you guys thought about the way that they were introducing the famous people into the movie?
I liked it.
I liked it too.
Are you saying with like like spelling it out for us, just in case we
Yeah.
didn't know? Yeah, I like
Yeah,
that. I don't even know who the fudge anybody is.
Because
I
it
really
jumps
like
right
that.
into the story. It's like we don't have
Yeah,
to like spend time like, hey, Keith Richards. You know what I mean? It's like
yeah.
just tell me who he is quickly so we can get right into the scene.
And I think it's become more of a thing. Like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was doing that when they, it's like a quick shot. Like these aren't really characters that are going to be in this movie, but let me just tell you, it was this historical moment in this party. All these people in the same
Didn't
freaking room. Uh,
didn't they do that
uh,
in Weird Al also in the Weird Al movie?
maybe, but if we're talking serious movies, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, The Irishman, Scorsese also did that in that but Scorsese went even a step further because they're all like mob related. It was like died in 1973, car bomb or whatever, So like
Yeah.
the Scorsese and The Irishman added all that other level to it. So yeah, I like that because it's like, oh, like it's not like a name drop like, oh, Paul McCartney, because it's like, okay, we don't have to see an interaction between Paul McCartney and him, but it just adds a little flavor to how epic or historically, if hopefully that was one of the historically accurate moments of playing in front of two of the four Beatles and playing their song, which I was like, oh man, the whole budget must have gone into just get cleared Sergeant Pepper. Like I can imagine that's a cheap
That's
song to
why the
get.
movie looks the way it is because the entire budget just went into that and
Yeah.
Andre's salary.
I don't think he got paid a whole bunch. He probably wanted to make this movie.
Yeah, that's probably cool to play him, especially how like um his music kind of is. Like,
Yeah,
like he crosses those lines of not being one genre himself.
yeah,
With
yeah.
this movie was getting tossed around for years, probably a decade before it got made, and Andre had been wanting to play this part for a really long time.
Oh, nice. So I paid him $5.
Yeah.
So, two questions. Number one, what was your favorite cameo? Like by
I like
those
seeing
secondary.
Keith Richards being insecure about Jimi Hendrix.
No, that was Clapton. Or was Keith also insecure?
In the beginning, he was like,
Oh,
he was jealous about the girlfriend hanging around this
oh.
no-name guy.
That's I think when I was struggling with the sound, so I can't. I don't.
He was
I
talking
The
didn't.
sound was an issue. I wanted to talk about that. I think it might have been the rip because the sound mixing was pretty poor. I don't think we got it in stereo or something. So we were getting,
Yeah.
Yeah, it was your, but yeah, you guys, because I was fine.
I mean, I don't
Oh,
know
really?
enough.
Mhm.
I don't know enough about like when you said cameos, if it's the people, but the Clapton just like kind of storming off and like he's that good, like that's like a mic drop type of thing, right?
But that
Like
really
that's
happened. That's written. A lot of people have written about that.
I know, but exactly how. But I'm just saying, like that's pretty dope that they, exactly how that happened, or who knows who was in the bathroom or the But that's
Yeah.
a cool. That's like 8 Mile or whatever, right? Where like you don't even start playing anymore because you see like, oh yeah, this guy is doing that way better. So let me just get out of here, or else people are gonna actually be able to tell the difference.
I'm gonna mention someone that is not popular, but is the manager of the Rolling Stones
Hmm.
because that dude was throwing knives at a suit in the wall.
I
That's a
didn't know what
metaphor.
that meant, but it's probably really happened. It probably was a thing that was, documented.
That's a metaphor for capitalism, I guess. Throwing knives at a suit.
I was trying to figure it out. Like, yeah, I don't like the suits. Forget the executives. But then he kind of
Yeah,
was
yeah.
one. I don't know. He was wearing a suit.
And then that was like a cute moment, I guess. It was like, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna have to fix all these things, and we never see that guy again. It was like, were we like, did we have to show that other than because he's like this cocky kind of almost like a Tom Cruise character from Tropic Thunder, like I'm gonna fuck everything up. I gave you your name. You're spelling it this way. I'm the one who created your image type of thing. And I was like, oh, this is gonna get ugly with this guy. Nope, we never see him again. Like, so what did we need to even see that to begin with? Because again, it was like, let's explore Jimmy's kind of, thing. I don't know. I'm gonna mute myself.
Thank you,
I
Dina.
honestly can't think of one. Like Jimmy blew me away so much that everybody else, when they came, I was like, "Welcome to the party." I don't know. I was just like, I don't know. I do think, like we said, we liked how they introed people, but I do think like it kind of lacked. I didn't feel the celebrity vibe. Like I didn't even feel his incline that much. Like I felt like he was just always cool. So like I couldn't even tell, like, oh, I guess he's getting kind of famous, like he's doing that performance. Like if I will agree with Dino on what's missing there, I like just as far as him, I didn't understand how famous he was, because at first I was like, is he not famous because he's on this group where they get like 5 claps, and then when they're trying to sign him, he's already signed. I was like, what's happening here on that. So as far as like other people coming into the movie, I don't know. I just do feel like that was just one thing where I didn't really feel like, oh, this is allow me to introduce myself. I feel like people could just kind of glide it in.
And then the other question was, if it wasn't Andre 3000, who would you wanted Jimmy to be played by?
Good question.
Lupe Fiasco. I don't know.
Lupe Fiasco
Soldier
with an
Boy. Soldier Boy.
I would. That's a really great question. I would have to really think about it, but also I would be open to auditioning actors we don't know.
I was gonna say Jason could pull it off. I think.
Hmm.
I think Jason's got the build. I don't know about his guitar
I mean,
skills.
the only person I can think of, but he will have to fake it or take too many classes that I don't know. I mean, he's a committed person, but it would be Jamie Foxx.
Okay.
But he just did Ray. That's why when we were picking movies, R.I.P. Chadwick. But it's like there's gotta be, especially for black performers, African American, Afro Latinos. Like I'm sure there's more than one African American, Afro Latino actor out there that can do biopics.
What character?
Or any African American actor. Well, because he said
No, you
Jimi
said
Hendrix.
Afro Latino actor for who?
Well, I was thinking Harry Belafonte or something. So like just any movie that's coming up. That it's like it's gotta be this one actor. Because he brought up crap. He just said the name. Who just had a stroke? Jamie Foxx. Is that who you said? Jamie Foxx.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like we gotta have, like, I like what Jason said, like maybe an unknown, like especially with even Rami Malek when he did Bohemian, like he's kind of is been this character actor and did Mr. Robot and was kind of his star was starting to rise, and then he like got into Bohemian Rhapsody, but yeah, find someone new and maybe the side characters around them, even kind of how they did with Andre, like really strong performances.
The Bob Marley
actors.
movie. I don't know that guy. I saw the trailer. I've never seen that actor before.
That's
Is it
good.
a new movie?
It's always
Yeah,
good
there's the Bob Marley movie coming out.
It's always good when it works out, because I had no idea who Rami Malek was, and he killed that ish.
It
And
was great.
I am Freddie Mercury's youngest fan, and
You're
I
the youngest fan. You know it.
I mean, it's a
um,
music. It's basically a long music video. I love the movie, but I mean that one they took a lot of liberties, like a lot of liberties. But yeah, but it was fun storytelling.
but no, I feel it. Like I will say, I appreciate when unknowns play biopics, because it helps you focus on the artist more so, even though it can be done well sometimes. Like I do feel like I did buy it. I didn't see Andre 3000 in this movie, but sometimes you do. Sometimes you're like, I can't stop seeing you. And some I
Yeah.
do think Jamie Foxx, it has grown a lot to where it may be a little strange. I feel like he did amazing with Ray. Was it Ray that he did?
Yeah.
Yep.
But you never know that always hit because he's also like piano guy and like jazzy on his own music. So like it kind of that soulful feeling was great, but maybe it might not work for something that's a little bit more rocky. So you just never know. But I love trying out someone new, just for being able to kind of not know them and focus on the celebrity. Um,
The black kid from Stranger Things. He's about that age now, right? What are they, like in their 20s at this point?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I didn't watch the show. I know. No, I didn't support your.
He could be Sammy Davis Jr.
Oh yeah. Skinny lad.
I was serious about Lupe Fiasco, guys. Um, just imagine him with a fro, like.
So let's talk about before final thoughts. Let's talk about the serious topics that they lightly touch throughout the movie. One being racism,
Fuck the police. Oh,
another one being men hitting women, another one being suicide or planning to commit suicide.
or failing at committing suicide.
Yeah. Or signing contracts without reading the fine print.
I don't
Yeah,
think
can
you
you
can
not
make any
read?
movie from the 60s. You can't make, I mean, from the past mostly, but you can't make any movie from the 60s and not have something about race relations. Even if it's not about race relations, if you don't at least show what was happening in the world at that time, you've probably missed a beat because there's no one who lived during that time who doesn't remember that stuff happening. You know what I mean? It's a big part of like our transition as humans.
in
So
in Western, let's put Western
yes,
history, because if it's some other place or whatever, it might be,
right.
less.
Well, I said America or the UK. I
Oh,
think,
oh, oh, okay. Yeah. I just
yeah,
doubled down on
probably
it.
Canada too. Who knows? But that's my take on that.
I guess I really didn't know about much about like 60s racism in the UK. And then
Oh, I'm glad you said the UK, because I was like, Marina, you don't know about racism in the 60s?
never happened. I'm kidding.
He's a racism denier.
Slavery was a choice. I don't
Yeah.
know what's
Oh my
happening.
god.
No, the
Hashtag
UK.
racism is real. Hashtag racism is bad.
Kanye is not on this podcast, but I didn't know much about how it was in the UK, and there might have been some other parts, but are you guys talking about mostly like the police stopping him and
Yeah,
his jacket? Do you guys feel like that was racism or it was like classist and
it was racism because I mean I felt it was racism, but also the bus ride home. She's like, you should have stood up to him, and he was like, well, you don't ever have to worry about that
Yeah.
because you know.
I saw it as racism too, because they saw him with a white girl, and so they were trying to they were poking at him to try and dehumanize him. So
Right.
it was, and then being American, then it's like he's wearing, a British whatever military jacket that is, right? That he saw the band playing, and he was like, "Oh, this is a cool look." So I saw it as racism. Got to be jealous of, especially black men and white women. That's never sat well with history, I
yeah.
guess.
My American tendencies, as soon as the altercation started, was like, oh boy, like this is racism. Like just what you see a black
Yeah.
man with police. I was just like, oh shoot, is there some part of the story I didn't know? How did Jimi Hendrix die?
I mean,
Yeah.
even today, if I have an interaction with a white police officer or any police officer, really, my first reaction, my first thought is this about to be racist?
I know.
Yeah.
And so that's what I
So someone get their cell phone camera on.
Yeah.
Jimmy, pull up your phone.
Hands up. So at first, yeah, so my initial instinct, but I was like, okay, am I just like American paranoid just because of like the times and the history here?
No.
And then like I was like, yeah, I didn't know because I didn't know if they didn't like that they were just like drunk and disorderly. I definitely was trying to not be biased to what the experiences are in my community and country. But yeah, I agree. It was probably racist.
So I think it's time, since we discussed so much, for final thoughts.
Oh well, I guess we didn't touch the beating women. You
Oh,
brought that
okay.
up as a thing.
Yeah.
What do you want? Is there something specific about that,
I
or
mean,
just
the first thing, I mean, I would just re-clarify what I said in the beginning, but it was just that he did not beat a lady with a phone like that. That
right?
was not it
Doesn't
for
mean yeah.
drama. But
Wait, so we know that didn't happen.
Well, that's
that
what that woman says he
that
that he
woman that
never beat
right
her
there
with a phone.
denied that didn't
Okay.
happen. But she did say he wasn't that aggressive.
All
So
right.
Or that abusive. Yeah, I guess.
that
I will say that it surprised me that or even, she was hitting him and then he hit her back and then he was kind of just blocking. But all that surprised me because usually biopics don't, they, they tend to now not have those moments. Like there's like throwing of dishes and breaking shit and yelling, but that like showing actual physical violence, so that I was surprised by that. But if that was something that was kind of documented, whether it was, heightened with a telephone at a bar that everyone can see, that's one thing. But the it was very surprising that that was put in the film. But if that was a reality of the time and of him and his interaction with the women around his life, and it's good to know. You know, I did appreciate that that was in it, that it wasn't just this whitewashing of his history. So don't hit people.
I it was very interesting. Again, just that open book. Oh, it was like a blank slate for me to know about him. So I was a little thrown off, especially from the first one. Because it really escalated. Like they were kind of arguing. He did get aggressive. Then yeah, but it didn't go too far. So I am hoping that um yeah, I'm hoping that like he was maybe an aggressive defense person, but then like didn't take it far. Because I mean, there was parts of that fight where I was like, ugh. And then I was just like, but what would you do if somebody was hitting you like that? Like, what's the balance? Like, obviously, this is just the one that was outside. That was kind of weird. The
Yeah.
guys didn't do anything. They didn't kind of break him up either. It was very strange. But
So
uh, yeah, I was hoping.
leading
I
to
think
that
your
though,
first reaction for anybody, if you're hit, period, your first reaction is defense, and maybe even to like hit back, like, oh, you hit me,
yeah,
But then, like, as a man, you have to realize, no, this is a woman. I can't, But that's like, I don't know. It's either like discipline or
But
what you've been
hey,
taught, or
again, we're talking about the '60s, which is very close to the '50s.
yeah, they hadn't
they
had those
didn't.
conversations probably.
Yeah, I don't think hashtags had come out yet. Um,
Because in the
I
'50s,
will.
we all know in the '50s, women were
Yeah,
getting hit.
for
Like
sure.
Yeah,
this was a norm.
women are still getting hit and shit isn't done, right?
Yeah,
Like
but
it's, if
yeah, but even in public though, in public, I think like if you hit a woman in public, you're getting arrested now. Like,
well,
Or
I would
maybe
I would I
if
would
no
I
cops
would
are around, at least someone is like coming to aid or
and I
or
would
to break up or defend.
especially if it's a racial thing, definitely. Because how many
Oh yeah,
black people, especially in the U.S., were arrested or murdered because a white woman said that they got, I mean, Till, is that the kid's name in down in the South, right? That then finally the woman, before she died, confessed and said like, yeah, it didn't happen. It's like, yeah, get the fuck out of here. My question though, I know I'm brushing that aside. Uh, is there a recording of the producer cussing the girl out about, the, because that's what
I thought
initiated the
about that
Hendrix
because like
fight.
they didn't. Yeah, right.
Because usually there's like the Beatles like recording or other musicians where it's like, oh, just leave it in. And it's like, holy shit, was this actually recorded? Was there like full blown out like just demeaning the girlfriend, and that's on tape? That
I
would be
considered that as
interesting.
well.
Sorry, Marina, if we pushed you out of here though. So yeah. So anyway, that's
Steve?
Yeah. No, I thought you guys wanted to add something else.
No, I thought maybe you had another a question or
Shoot, I
you
didn't
wanted
hear.
to
yeah.
move things forward.
No, no. I just basically wanted to loop around. I mean, we can lightly touch if we want any other topic, but I think it's probably time to go to final thoughts.
All right.
So let's go into final thoughts, and let's start in the order that we began. So the person that was more into this movie, Marina.
I forgot to mention that I'm wearing a shirt that says on Wednesdays we wear pink, but
Nice.
yeah.
I
It has
forgot.
nothing. It has nothing to do with this movie, but okay.
It was part of our GIFs, so leading
Um,
up today, and I
I
didn't
seriously,
realize
I
that.
seriously thought she was gonna be like, "Yo, I got a Jimi Hendrix shirt right now."
Yeah.
sorry. But so my final thoughts: don't do drugs. Um, but yeah, like after hearing everybody's opinion, maybe it'd be good if they came out with another one with more details. I still think it was really good for like just a perspective. I love learning about, like I said before, artists and their stories. So I would recommend this to anybody who just loves music and loves legends and loves to see the story of how someone became who they are. Um, I think it was really well done, and yeah, drugs are crazy, and don't hit women and stuff.
Drugs are crazy. Don't do drugs.
Thank you so much, Marina. Let's go with Jason.
Thank you, Steve. So again, I like this movie. I could probably do a different version of a Jimi Hendrix biopic because this one's very specific to just a very specific time period. It's only takes place over 2 years that he was, in the UK or whatever, mostly in the UK. Um, but I liked it, and I liked a lot about it. There were some things in it that it's a cheap film, or inexpensive film, so they did what they could. But I think it was fine for this specific story. I would recommend this movie to anyone who likes biopics. I would recommend it to Andre 3000 fans, Outcast fans. I would recommend it
I'll
to
recommend this movie to Andre 3000.
yeah, him too. I'm sure he would like to check it out if he hasn't already. I would recommend this movie to actors. Actors could get a lot out of this thing because every every scene in this is such a small, intimate scene, and it's mostly in most of the scenes it's two people talking. Very rarely it's more than three people talking. Only a handful, maybe less. Um, it's a pretty good perspective, I think. I don't know how much of it is true, but it was an easy watch, and I didn't expect that because I feel like everything I heard about this thing 10 years ago when it came out was not good, and then it just sort of disappeared. Um, and I didn't want anything to do with it when I heard like the family didn't want anything to do with it. I mean, I wanted to see it, but I wasn't excited to go seek it out. It hasn't been an easy movie to find, so glad I got a chance to watch it. That's who I would recommend it to. Would I watch it again? Yeah, I would explore this thing again for one reason or another. I'm not sure what it would be. Maybe if I was sharing it with someone who's never seen it, I would like, yeah, we could check that out. But it's not off my I will never touch this again list. Yeah, that's my final thought.
Thank you
Oh,
so much, Jason. Let's, let's go with Dino.
Normally if I'm on the fence or I subjectively wasn't a fan of the film, after our talks, I'm usually more open minded and I'm like, oh, I kind of did things that I enjoyed it. But after this talk, I'm wanting more. And I just wasn't, I don't know, satisfied with this film. It didn't touch me in any way like the whole interview part in black and white. Like, there's just so much. I would love to see almost a making of this film. Like, what happened? Like, especially hearing Jason saying that it was kind of going around Hollywood for, was it part of the blacklist or whatever they call that, of scripts that don't get made for 10 or 20 years? Uh,
I think it was pre-blacklist.
yeah, Andre 3000 has never touched me, so I can't like this film. Um, so yeah. So anyway, I sadly I would not revisit this, even if it's with a group of people. Even I mean, yeah, it's sad
You would
because
just
I
leave.
really,
Everybody was going to watch it. You're like, I'm out.
yeah. I mean, I would have to be a really special occasion, or if I'm dating someone and they're like, "We need to watch this," but
All right, so this
I
movie's
would.
reserved for special occasions for you. Gotcha.
I mean, Fred, on a whole nother level. So I don't know. Sorry, Andre. I love you. I hope you touch me one day in a emotional way, artistic way. That's it.
Dino, I know you like to think that your ish don't stink, but if you just lean a little closer,
Yeah.
you realize roses
Roses really
don't.
smell like you. Ooh, ooh.
Hey, yeah, hey, yeah, hey, yeah,
You
hey,
know,
yeah.
Polaroid had to come out with a statement after that song and saying like, please don't shake the film. Like, it actually
I
does
mean,
not help.
Is
Even
Polaroid
though everyone has always shaken the picture first, and
Yeah. But
is
they're
Polaroid even in business now?
yeah, they do shirts, vintage
no, they're
shirts.
still in business. Lady Gaga's the creative director, or at least she used to be.
Polaroid.
She
Because
might still be.
Marina still keeps them in business.
Oh, here.
Very
Oh
nice.
no, are you taking a picture of us of the
That
screen?
would be cool, right? But I think this battery's dead.
No, never mind.
There you go. You can't shake it like a Polaroid picture then. All right. My final thought. Unlike Dino, I enjoyed this movie. I was very thrilled to have watched finally Andre 3000 acting, and let me say, I was very pleased and satisfied. Um, yeah, like many things that have been said, I wish, I don't know, I like story wise and like script wise, they were explore certain things a little bit further. But I did like the little sample platter that we got, that we touch on little things here and there and here and there. And mindful, this is a 2 hour movie. So there's a lot of room for a lot of things. And I still personally did not feel like it was like I watch a 2 hour film. Like it felt like I breezed by it. It was tough in the beginning just because of audio issues, but like after that, I pretty much was into it. Um, the only thing, man, that I so wish this movie had, and that's the one reason I would be even more excited if there's in the future. Hopefully, I mean, it has to happen within our lifetime because if not, I don't know. But there will be another movie where they can actually put Jimmy's like hits, because I
Hmm.
feel like that was the one thing for me that I was like really missing. Like I wanted to hear Voodoo Child. I wanted to hear.
Can you specify that it includes his musical hits? Because this one had his hits, but
Well,
No,
his musical hits.
It's
yeah,
more of his catalog. I know what you mean.
yeah,
Yeah,
not.
more
Like Marina Marina the only one that got the hit?
Oh,
I'm
yeah, I
sorry.
got you now.
I'm sorry.
His
I'm
greatest
gonna
hit.
see myself out.
yeah.
I'm ashamed. It's not.
Someone on Reddit said that this is where Chris Brown got his inspiration.
Oh
Oh
Ooh.
Lord.
man.
Ah,
Uh, I know we laugh, but that's not cool, and no one should do it.
no.
Yeah, but I couldn't resist. It's the yeah. Sorry, I interrupted your musical hit comment.
Yeah. Dino is a hater of Andrew 3000. We already know that. So, uh, final thought, I would definitely recommend this movie to people that enjoy biopics, to people that enjoy Andrew 3000, to people that enjoy Jimi Hendrix, to people that just simply like to watch film that, even though sure it was made by Hollywood, it doesn't feel Hollywood. It feels like with a little maybe indie twist to it. I don't know, but it doesn't feel Hollywood entirely. And it was great. One thing I did not know, and it makes so much sense, is that essentially Jimi Hendrix got the rise to fame in England, and it was because he was around all these big players and all these people. Uh, so that was a quite interesting thing, and I learned a thing or two about it. And again, I enjoyed Andre's acting. Like I thought he did an amazing job. And that's my final thoughts.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, I guess all I got to say then is, Steve, what do you got for us next week?
Next week, I don't know why you asked me because it is my turn again, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going twice because that's what a true democracy should be. No, I'm kidding. It is the ultimate hater of Cinema Club. Ladies and gentlemen, the Paraguayan himself, JP Amindino. Sorry.
I was gonna say, can we get JP back? Because he was the hater. I was
Yeah,
the
he was like our
lovely.
villain.
Yeah, I
Dino,
was the
can
lovely
you get like a
Suki.
top hat and like a curly mustache?
Yeah, maybe. So my pick for next week is the Handmaiden. It is 2016, and it's a Park Chan Wook movie. I don't know if I pronounce his name correctly. I'm sorry. We've seen a few of his movies now, I believe. Old Boy, Lady Vengeance. Did we do that? I feel like we've done maybe two or three of his, or this might be the third,
And
or maybe even fourth
sympathy for
one.
Mr. Vengeance as well.
Which one?
Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance.
Yes, correct. The his soft trilogy or whatever. Yeah. So I just recently heard people talk about this on a podcast or some sort of interview show, and I was like, all right, gotta watch it. So now that's why I
Okay.
picked it.
Very cool.
Well,
I'm looking forward to it.
the Handmaiden next week, ladies and gentlemen. So for
Looks like
Jason
a
Echo,
love triangle.
well, I love Triangle. There's two women there and two guys, and they're like
Looks like a
feminine.
love square.
There, you see the hands?
Looks
Everybody's
like
touching her.
Yeah, in a very not appropriate and nice way. Anyway, so for Jason Echoes, Marina, El Dandino, I mean Steve the CB will catch you next week. Bye bye.
bye bye.